All right, namaste. Today is July 14. This is the July 14 broadcast. I'll actually release this tomorrow. It's the 13th today, but I'm going to record this for tomorrow. Today, we are going to continue looking at one more example, and this is probably the most intense example, at least it is for me, because as we've been talking about inanimate objects not having the capacity to be good or evil, that we can't put inanimate objects into a category. What I've presented or what I have suggested is that maybe we have to evaluate as something having the possibility of good or the possibility of evil, and maybe we can get a better understanding of how we classify inanimate objects. So today we look at handguns, and this is a very polarized topic, handguns. So I want to point out a few things that as I kind of present my ideas here. First of all, I've chosen handguns for a reason. In my mind, handguns are a technology that were designed for a specific purpose. And I think I could be safe in saying that that purpose is to harm other human beings or take other human beings' lives. Whether it's for protection or however you want to look at it, this is a technology that I can safely say, 99% of people are going to say that is the purpose of a handgun. Now, some people may say, well, I've got it for target practice or just sports and that's perhaps another debate for another time. I also decided that I really didn't want to use hunting rifles and weapons that are used for hunting. We're human beings. We have to eat. We have all different opinions on where our food should come from, how it should be processed. Is it the farm? And should it use hormones? We all have our opinions on that. And the other area that I don't want to get into today would be the military use of weapons. Other than to acknowledge this, like I acknowledge that the way the world functions is, or can be, the way the world functions can be quite different than the way our spiritual worlds function. And I believe in the Christian tradition, you have this idea of two worlds. We're not of this world. We live a certain way in the spiritual world, and we live a certain way in the physical world. And that would be certainly true in Hinduism. I mean, it would come through very clear in Hinduism that sometimes, the way the physical world operates is not what we would like. So two different worlds. So I want to stick specifically to handguns. I've made the suggestion that something inanimate cannot be categorized as good or evil until it is put into motion and until it has a certain trajectory, and that trajectory is determined by the individual's intention. And I'm just going to give a couple examples, and I think that's probably going to be it for this particular episode. The handgun that is in the gun safe, the handgun that is stored in the shoebox in the cupboard, the handgun that is in place and it's not in motion, we're not going to categorize as good or evil. Again, it's taking inanimate objects and simply saying this is good, this is evil. It's unproductive. I would like to continue to suggest a better way to evaluate whether something leans toward good or something leans toward evil would be to evaluate the motion and the trajectory as identified by an individual's intention. So as I think about putting handguns in motion, I think about taking the handgun out of the gun safe. You've put it in motion. The handgun now has a trajectory because there's a reason that you took the handgun out of the safe. And you as an individual, you have to evaluate what your intention is. If your intention is you're going to what you perceive as a dangerous part of the world, and you need to have a handgun and it needs to be hidden, or if your intention is, what if somebody's robbing a bank today and I can be the hero and take care of the situation, or I mean, whatever your intention is, you have to evaluate what is the trajectory, how is it potentially going to end. So if you have the handgun in the glove compartment of your truck, what is your intent? What is the trajectory? Is your intent that you want to go do target practice? Probably not. Is your intent that you may have to harm and potentially kill another human being? I would say the vast majority of us would say that's the intent, that's the motion in the trajectory of a handgun. Without getting into politics, without getting, because I don't want to do that. Eventually I do. And if you want to leave a comment, I would love to consider, some ideas here. But I want you to evaluate yet another inanimate object, a handgun, which is harmless if it's in the gun safe. It's harmless if it's in the shoebox. It's harmless if it's sitting in somebody's glove compartment until somebody puts it into motion. And hopefully, who puts the handgun in motion that's stored in the shoebox in your cupboard or is stored in the glove compartment of your truck, hopefully the individual who puts that handgun in motion is doing it fully understanding that the trajectory of handgun use is going to determine whether it's good or evil. I developed some very strong feelings many years ago when I had an 8-year-old third grader. So I was a professional educator in a elementary school for a few decades, actually. And I had a third grade class. It was the only time I taught third grade. And I got a phone call, and it was one of the phone calls that teachers and therapists, we never want to get. And it wasn't that my particular 8-year-old third grade student was killed by a gun, but he had witnessed his older sibling, and this happened in a town near the lakeshore. He witnessed his older sibling had found a handgun and had taken the handgun down from the shoebox in the cupboard. So this is based on, all of my examples are based on actual experience. And he was with his younger brother, and the older brother, just joking around, was messing around and scaring the middle child. And the gun happened to be real, and the gun happened to go off. It was a horrible time for this student. His name was Matt, 8 years old, and that's what he had to witness. So I do indeed have a lot of strong opinions of handguns, at least, or maybe not opinions, maybe feelings, that would, even when I look at the handguns in the picture, I just, I have this certain reaction. So I want people to look at this particular symbol, from a country where there's actually more weapons than there are people. I think it's something to consider, is these inanimate objects of a handgun, when we put them in motion and we give them a trajectory based on our intention of their use, does that sway them toward evil? Does it sway them toward good? And can we make a more informed decision about how we're going to look at handguns? All right, heavy topic, but namaste, my friends.